Thank you. You may be seated. I want to welcome you to the wedding celebration of Sean and Rachel. Thank you guys for being here today. I know that they appreciate the fact that you're here to witness their covenant and their marriage together. It's an exciting time for all of us, and we're very excited for you guys as well. Many of you know Sean, and many of you know Rachel, but not many of you know Sean and Rachel together. And so I just want to take a couple of minutes to share a little bit about their story. Sean and Rachel had their first date in April of 2017, and they had a second one just about a week later, so that's a good sign for those of you keeping score. On their first date, they bonded over an obscure book that had become a movie, and it was a good thing that they did. And Rachel said she spent about a month away out of their first 2 months of dating together, being out of the state or out of the country. And one of the things that she was surprised about is that Sean was still there when she got back, and he was still interested and still hanging around, and that's another good sign. But one thing she did remember of all things is that she missed him when they were away, whenever she was traveling. There was a time when Lori had gone out of town for Mother's Day, and so Rachel got to meet Laurelyn for the first time at a park on Mother's Day. And she felt a little intimidated, but remember now it's a good memory. There was another moment at Sean's wedding, not Sean, but Aaron got married exactly a year ago today. And while they were there, they had no idea that they would be here dancing at their wedding today. On Thanksgiving, they went to Tennessee to stay with her family, and Sean this wasn't an elaborate test, but Sean said, if you can survive an 11-hour car ride with a 2-year-old, it would be better than any test you could ever think. Not only did they survive, but they came back from that trip, and their relationship went to the next level. They started the conversation about getting married after that. Well, back in February, they went back to Tennessee. Rachel went back for a work trip, and Sean decided to go with her and spend some more time with her family. And while they were there, he asked her dad if he could have his blessing to marry Rachel. And he decided he wanted to propose to her right then and there on that trip that weekend so that her family could be there to celebrate. So on February 9th, Sean went to get Laurelyn up from her nap. And he set up some flowers and a sign that said, "Rachel, will you marry us?" out on the balcony of the room where they were staying. Then he stuck his head in and asked Rachel to meet him outside. But Laurelyn came out and around the corner early and said, "Daddy is going to marry you." So she came through the door and saw Sean on one knee, and he proposed and asked her to be his wife. I asked them when was the moment that they knew that they wanted to get married. And Rachel said it was actually pretty early in the relationship. And the sign for her was she wondered what it would look like if she wasn't in full-time Christian ministry. She had planned on going back to the Middle East for missions and in a few years and felt like God had possibly been changing that. But she couldn't imagine what it would be like to not serve together as a couple in Christian ministry. And so she knew when Sean came into a situation where there was a homeless family that needed a place to stay, and he seriously contemplated giving up his house for 6 months so that they could have his house. They had been reading Radical by David Platt together, and she knew at that moment that if he was serious enough to give up his house for half a year, that they could do ministry and live together in that way. Sean didn't have to give up his house, but the willingness was there, and that was a big sign for Rachel. Sean said it wasn't as much of a moment that I knew I wanted to marry her, as much as something I realized over time. He said that he had watched Rachel play with Laurelyn, and he watched them bond. The first trip to Tennessee over Thanksgiving was a big turning point in their relationship as well. He wasn't sure exactly when it happened, other than that, over a long process of time. He knew for sure. There's a funny story. It says, I'm not sure if this is embarrassing or not, so I'm going to tell it. because that's what I do. But Laura Lynn had been trying to set them up for a long time. And so it was kind of her habit. If they were sitting near each other, that she would reach around and push their faces together and try to get them to kiss. And so she really wanted this to happen. She said, so their first kiss was this awkward, almost headbutt with each other. And so with the toddler 3 inches from her face. Their most memorable date happened in February, the night before before Sean proposed. And they spent the day in Chattanooga, and Rachel's parents took Laura Lynn, and they had a date night there. They walked along the bridge, enjoyed a nice walk along the river, had a nice dinner. She had been sick all week and had lost her voice and couldn't speak above a whisper, but Sean was sweet and caring. She said, I think the thing that's most fun for me, though, is now I know that he was going to propose the next day, and he spent the whole night enjoying the fact that he already knew he was going to marry me. Well, guys, we're very excited, and it's been neat to watch your relationship develop and to be a part of your premarital counseling. Any couple that is willing to endure 7 2-hour sessions of premarital counseling, where I throw some of the hardest issues at you and allow you to work through those together, to arrive here is a testament. And so we're excited for you. We're all here to celebrate that with you. In Ephesians chapter 5, it says, wives, submit to your husbands. And a friend of mine was supposed to read this at a wedding, this whole passage, and he stopped at just that passage and went and sat down. Wives, submit to your husbands. But that's not it. It says the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church. And as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit in everything to their husbands. And it also says, husbands, love your wives, as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word, so that he might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle, or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. And in the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own body. He who loves his wife loves himself. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This mystery is profound, and I'm saying that it refers to Christ and the church. However, let each one of you love his wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband. I'm not sure if you were counting, but multiple times the instruction was clear that men are to love their wives as Christ loved the church in a humbling way, a sacrificial way, a way that takes on sacrificial responsibility. And in this way, marriage becomes a beautiful picture. You know, marriage is one of God's primary tools for making us more like Christ. It is in that way that we grow closer and become more and more like it. This covenant of marriage is God's design for your joy and your pleasure and your growth and your pursuit of him. Marriage is supposed to make you happy, holy, not necessarily happy. Many people get that wrong, because happiness is a fleeting feeling that comes and goes. And nobody gets married, or more to the point, nobody stays married based on the rising and falling of feelings of happiness. But when you take this idea that the covenant of marriage is a determined commitment to one another under God, that will have good times and bad, happy times and difficult times and tragedies and victories and all those things, and when that happens and you approach it in that way, your marital joy increases as you walk together in pursuit of Christ together. We're very excited for you guys, and it's been my joy to walk with you through premarital counseling and to experience the seriousness at which you take this. Many people that I do premarital counseling for prepare for a wedding day, and not so much for a marriage. And what I've witnessed in your lives is that you spend a lot of time preparing for a marriage. And that says a lot about your character, it says a lot about your parents, it says a lot about your faith and your seriousness in Christ. At this time, Sean and Rachel would like to serve communion and have communion for the first time. So let's watch as they observe communion.
Christ alone, my hope is found. He is my life. strength.